Welcome to Positive Philter with your host, Philip Wilkerson, a podcast that focuses on friends, family, health, and career, with a little self-help along the way. Please join me in this journey for self-improvement, and I hope what I have to share will make you a better person, thus making the world a better place. I hope you enjoy the show. I hope you enjoy the show. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it's Philip Wilkerson back with another episode of Positive Philter. I'm joined by a very special guest, Aisha. Every guest to me is special, but they're on my show, so they're double special. And so I'm joined by Aisha. We have met and we've known each other for about a year now through GMU Toastmasters. She's seen my development as a public speaker. I've seen hers. She's like, Philip, I want to get on your podcast. And what's funny is, honestly, is usually I ask people to get on mine and I feel like I'm bothering people, but you actually took the initiative to want to be on my podcast. And that's like really nice. Like, cause that makes me feel like someone wants to share on this platform. But just going in where we met, Toastmasters, and we're going to talk about your journey in graduate school as an international student. But before we get into that, please introduce yourself for the listeners.
Thank you, Philip. It's such an honor to be here on your podcast. My name is Aisha Yusuf, and I'm an international student from Nigeria. I moved to the US 6 years ago for my master's degree. I spent 2 years in Texas before moving to Virginia for my Ph.D. in economics. I love doing research, teaching, self-care, cooking. Like, you have me doing so many things. And then reaching out to you for the podcast, I have a new goal for this year, is that instead of waiting for people to reach out to you, I'll do the reaching out. That's why I'm here. So,
manifestation, right? Make it happen yourself. I love that. You probably already know that I have no problem doing that. So maybe my goal of the year would be the opposite of you, is to slow down. But, I think that's great that you're taking some initiative. And we'll talk about that, you taking initiative, because you have taken initiative in other aspects of your life too, reaching out and initiating rather than waiting for you in regards to Toastmasters. But that's very interesting. Let's just go back to your journey as an international student. What did you get your undergrad in? And then why did you decide to go to graduate school in Texas?
So I got my undergrad in American University of Nigeria. Mm-hmm. That's back at home in Nigeria. And then since from being an undergrad, like with my parents and family, we always used to travel. Like, we used to travel from a very early age. And then US was one of the countries that we traveled a lot to. So during the summer, we would travel to the US. And I remember actually visiting Arlington. We visited Arlington, we went to DC, we went to New York. So from that, I knew that I wanted to be in the US. I saw the diversity, I saw so many people, the culture. So I knew that if I wanted to do my master's, I wouldn't want to go to, let's say, London or Dubai, but then I wanted to go to the US. And also because of my undergrad, it was the American system, that's American University of Nigeria. I thought that coming to the US would be easier since the whole system is the same. So it wouldn't require a lot of adjustment when it comes to the classes. And that's why I came here. I also watch lots of movies. So, everyone watches like American movies. So, like the jokes and all. So I was very excited.
So what did you study in your master's in Texas?
Economics. I studied
economics. And why was that your subject? What draws you to economics in as a field of study?
So coming from Nigeria in Africa, a developing country, I've always asked myself, like, why are some countries rich and why are some countries poor? Why does it happen that way? And I'll sit and I'll think to myself, like, okay, let's say that we take every single Nigerian and then bring them to the US. And then take every single American and then bring them to Nigeria. What's going to happen? Is it still going to be the same? Is the new Nigeria going to be rich and then the US wouldn't be as rich? Like, what is going on? Is it the geography? Is it the institutions? Why do these countries, how come these countries are behind the advanced countries? So I know that Nigeria is rich, we have lots of natural resources, but I wanted to know the roots as to why some countries are behind. And that's why I decided to study economics, like what's going on and what can I do to join the conversation, and also how I can do research. And I think it's different because you find so many people doing research, but then they are from developed countries. But I have a different viewpoint as someone from a developing country, because even when I'm like going through lots of research and you have people writing papers, the viewpoint from someone from a developed country is always different from someone from a developing country, like the narrative. So you'd find something like underdeveloped countries backwards. So the terminology itself is different. So I feel like for me, being a Nigerian, being an African, I've been there before, I can better understand what's going on. So that's
I like that. I like that. So, I mean, obviously you nerd out, man. You love the numbers, you love data. I was like, Jesus, man, I know in regards to economics, it's, you know, macro view but it's a lot of data and numbers. And, you know, I definitely don't want to do that for a PhD. I know, give you mad shout outs. So what point of the process when you were in Texas, did you say, I want to take this to the next level and get a PhD or make that decision to get a PhD rather than just stay with your master's?
You know, it's actually been from my undergrad. The last year of my undergrad, I knew from then that I wanted to do a PhD. And I actually applied to PhD programs for my senior year during undergrads. But then,
wow. Like you're trying to do one of them accelerated programs where it combined it. Like you wanted to do, like when you were in undergrad, you wanted to do one of those like master/PhD programs together?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I wanted to do that, but then I wasn't able to. But then when I started my master's, I knew that after my master's, the PhD was coming. So I already had a roadmap and I knew what I wanted to go.
Yeah.
From undergrad, I had it. PhD, that's what I wanted to do.
So why DC and why Mason, particularly for economics? And why not just stay in Texas or whatever?
You know, the economics department in George Mason University, it's very different compared to other universities. It's very applied. You have lots of professors and the research here. And also I wanted to come to DC because, you know, DC is very different from Texas. The weather is different. Texas is more like Nigeria. Like when I'm in Texas, I feel like it's like Nigeria abroad. You have lots of
you just spoke about it because isn't like especially the Houston area is mad African, right? Like you said, little Nigeria. Like a lot of my frat bros, you know what I'm saying? A lot of alphas that are particularly, there's a large African population in Texas.
Nigerians outside, there are more Nigerians in Houston than in any other states in the world. Like you have lots of Nigerians in Houston, you have the food, but then I chose DC because it's different, the diversity, the people, the food. Texas is good, but then I just wanted something different, something that would give me a new experience, and that's why I'm here. And I knew no one, like coming to DC, I knew nobody, so it's like a new adventure for me.
So that's a new adventure. So as an international student navigating this process, and obviously you were very organized with this process, and you had to do a lot of research. Is it isolating too? Do you have any family in America to support you during this? Or additionally, have you had any in that roadmap, did you have anyone that has gone to school abroad to kind of give you guidance on what to do when you're in another country? Like, do you have someone that already went to the United States for studying, and so they can say, yo, when you go to America, do this, this, and this, you know, kind of. So it's kind of two questions. Do you have any family and friends in here when you came to this journey? And two, do you have anyone that kind of gave you guidance because of their experience? Like, are you the first one?
It's all been a learning process for me. So when I came to Texas, I came with my sister. So I was doing my master's and then she was doing her undergrad. So we came together in Texas, we lived together and we learned everything together. But then coming here to Virginia, it's been different because I had to learn everything for myself, meet people, new friends, adjust, look for an apartment to stay. So it's like those things I didn't do in Texas because I had my sister. I had to do it here on my own. I had to learn everything. So it's been a learning process for me, especially being an international student, trying to maneuver your way through things.
Now, what about have you had anyone as an example, aunt, uncle, mom, dad, or someone that's done this before, or are you the first one?
I am the first one, but then my family has been very supportive. Like they visit a lot and they provide all the support possible. Like even moving here, my mom and siblings helped me move here. So when it comes to support, I have all the support, but then in terms of someone living here in the US before, I've had nobody. So
yeah. So with that being said, is, you know, and I'll probably jump in topics, but with your plan, is your plan to finish this PhD and go back to Nigeria or create more of a life for yourself here in the United States?
It depends. It depends because everything changes. Even when it comes to plan, for example, this COVID-19, no one expected it to come, and then it's changed so many people's plan and what they had for themselves. But my plan is to go into academia and then do more research. I'm into doing research and trying to find out the answers to these questions. Like that's why I'm here, like doing development economics. So whether I find myself in Nigeria or in the US, all I know is that you're going to be seeing me publishing papers, doing research, and also being out there, like not just writing, but like I want to be out there doing field work, talking to people, learning from their experiences. That's what interests me, and that's why I went into the whole research economics field, to know what's going on and also talk to people and find out how I can make the world a better place.
I think that's a perfect segue to the jump, because I think I know why you joined Toastmasters, but I'm gonna let you share that journey. But you said something that really stuck out, is that you don't want to just do research, you want to share that research. Maybe quick wink, wink, like presentations and speaking and public speaking engagements, to like be not only like a behind the scenes researcher, but more like, we talk about those celebrity, the celebrity faculty members.
Yeah.
They really don't teach as much. They're out there in the world doing TED Talks and TEDx's, and I don't know. But for that journey, is that why you joined Toastmasters? Because not only do you want to bring out research, you want to be able to share that. So bring us to your journey about starting Toastmasters for yourself.
Okay, so I first joined Toastmasters in 2014. Let's go back to 2014 when I moved to Texas.
Mm-hmm.
I attended lots of orientation for international students. And I remember one of the speakers saying, Toastmasters, if you would like to do better with public speaking, join Toastmasters. And I can remember saying to myself, like, no way, I'm not good at public speaking. I would probably never need Toastmasters. Like, I'm just into economics, data, statistics, and that's all. Nothing is going to lead me into public speaking. And then I took a course that required us to present a chapter. I can remember practicing over and over again for my presentation. And on the day, I had like sweaty palms. I was shivering. Like the journey from my seat to the podium felt like the longest thing. I went there, looked up to everyone, and I think I forgot like the first few words. I was so nervous. And you know how it feels like you're presenting, but you can't wait to get off the stage.
I'm learning. I'm using a skill called empathy right now, but no, yeah. I was like, yeah. I mean, I get nervous, but I'm like,
well, I was so nervous, and I was saying to myself, like, this is the last time I would present that way. Yeah. Like, I've learned that, and then I never want to experience that again. Luckily for me, the word Toastmaster is a very catchy word, Toastmaster.
Yes.
I researched on Toastmaster, and then we had one on campus, and I joined, and that was the start of my journey in Toastmasters. If you had told me, like back then, that I would participate in speech contests, I would have told you no. Like do that on my own voluntarily, I would have said no way, because me and speech contest, public speaking, that's not for me. But then it's played a huge role in my studies as a Ph.D. student. I teach students, I do research, I present. Yeah. That has been very important for me.
I love that journey, and it's probably like that's a lot of different experiences. I know that I bet that's what I can see you have a lot of empathy, like when someone new joins our club, especially international student. I can see like you try to make it a welcoming space, because like that is a extra layer of intimidation. Like I try to use that, like when I meet with international students, I stop them like right now and I say, you know what, I just want to give you mad kudos that just the fact that you're going to school in another environment takes a lot of courage. But then the fact that you got to like you say, if you speak more than one language, like you have to actually speak another language in another country. That is like, I will tell you right now, I can't get dropped off in China and speak Chinese. You know what I'm saying? So that's a lot of courage. Like, that's a lot of courage. And so I want to say that for you too. That's you showing a lot of courage, because I was laughing and joking. Like, did you ever want to get off the stage? No, but I'm using my empathy. Like that took a lot. Like I definitely did not know that. I did not know that journey, because when I met you in your journey, I saw your first presentation where you had the slides.
Yeah.
And you were doing, I remember this, you were doing slides and you were talking about economics, and you were saying, this is what I would present on. And you were kind of modeling it to us like you were a class.
Yeah.
And it was almost like, to me, even I thought you were like, dang, these people in Toastmasters are so organized. Like, I wasn't intimidated. I wasn't intimidated by you guys in a sense that like you're better, but I was like, wow, they are so well crafted. They're so organized, and I could see that. And you were very organized with your speech. And I was like, man, this group is really good. But now I know that your journey, that you put some time in. I didn't know that you started all the way back in 2014. So
yeah.
wow. So you started getting involved. When did you start really saying like this is something like, especially like, you know, in Texas you're doing it, but when was it like when you got to Mason, you're like, no, I'm gonna keep going with this? You know, you could have stopped just doing Toastmasters. You could have stopped doing Toastmasters in Texas, but what it made it seem like, okay, let me add this to my life as a part of my JMU journey.
You know, part of the reason why I rejoined Toastmasters here at George Mason is because I wanted to meet more people. So I'm here in a new place and I didn't really know anyone. So I thought, okay, fine. I'll join Toastmasters and then I'll be able to interact with the community and then talk to them, present more, do better. And also, you know, like a PhD program, there are lots of competition among students. You have to stand out. Mm-hmm. And I just have to be all-rounded. Like, you want to stand out when it comes to your presentation, your leadership, your research. You can't afford to be lagging behind in one aspect. So that was part of the reason why I joined Toastmasters, and also to meet people. I like how the Toastmasters Club is very welcoming. You feel at home. When you're there, you always want to be there. You want to participate. And there are lots of international students. You go there, you find Chinese, you find Latvia. I think there's someone from Latvia too. So just different students like you could relate to them more. So that's part of the reason why I joined Toastmasters here in George Mason University.
Now, obviously, similar to my experience and probably your experience, I didn't join Toastmasters. I thought I was just going to talk a few times, but then you end up now getting a leadership role. How did that happen? Like, you know, I'll be honest, I'll be totally transparent. I wasn't seeking this at all. But how did that happen to you? Rather, it was not just something to meet people. How did it come from not just meeting people and not just practicing your public speaking, but now like you have a leadership role? Like, how did you start getting tapped in that extra part of the club?
You know, I've always been a person that I always love self-development. I don't like staying in one place. So let's say I'm doing public speaking, I'll be thinking to myself, how can I do better? How can I move to the next stage? And then that's when the leadership came into place. And also Regina has been very helpful as a mentor as well. Like, she's always pushing me to do things I never thought I could do, in addition to the other members. But then Regina has played a key role in that. And that's when the leadership component of my Toastmasters journey began, being an area director and then leading people. And what I've noticed is that leading people, it's very different. People are very different. You have their behavior, their wants, their needs. And also leading people in America is different from leading people in the US. As an international student, you have behavioral norms and differences. So it's all been a learning process for me. So leadership is very different from public speaking.
Yes. So I was thinking about that with the leadership, but like kind of going on to this time, COVID has been pretty difficult. And with that being said, how has this affected you as an international student this time, this unwavering time, or the concerns about what's going on back home? Or just recently, we almost had legislation that said that you could be deported if you were all virtual. So just kind of go through what this time has been like for you.
You know, it's been difficult, the whole COVID-19, like no one could predict it. And then it's here, and then you're trying to survive. And then you have all those laws like coming into place. And for example, the law you're talking about sending students back home, it's not like they are illegal immigrants. They are legal. They're here legally. They have their visa. They have everything, their papers. But then it's like they're trying to make people attend classes, even when it's not safe to do so. But I'm glad that it's been rescinded. But it's always this feeling like, is there going to be a new law that is going to affect me? For example, when the law was brought into place, I was thinking to myself, okay, how am I going to like finish packing? I have an apartment, my stuff, what's going to happen to my rent? And then the grace period is very short. Like, how can I finish all this within less than a month? So it's like, how do I do all these things and also still be able to concentrate in my schoolwork? But then with the COVID-19, I've also realized that I have resilience, and also I'm very strong. Like I never knew how strong I was until this COVID-19 hit. And,
Yeah.
I have to do my research. I just finished my dissertation proposal like a few weeks back. I defended it successfully. And then doing it in a period like this, it's so difficult. And then I've realized that sometimes motivation doesn't work. So when I started this, it was motivation that brought me here. But then it's shown me that sometimes all you need is consistency. Motivation comes and goes. Sometimes you don't feel motivated, but then you just have to keep going. Consistency every single day, one step at a time, and just continue.
So what about, obviously you are a subject matter expert in economics. So I'm gonna throw a little like question and just your, obviously anecdotal, you don't have to hit no facts on me or nothing, but what do you think is the economic global impact that COVID has had from just your experience, what you see? Like you say, you study poverty in impoverished countries and stuff. What do you think this is going to do, or what have you just, when you kind of just look from that economic lens, what do you think what do you think this is doing to the economy?
It's impacted us in every single way. Like when you think of any industry, COVID-19 has affected it. Think about travel, like the travel industry, the airline industry, even when it comes to exports, imports, trade, the travel ban. Like it's all COVID-19, and it's also affected people from traveling, meeting their families, like restaurants, delivery. I was looking at the unemployment, and so many people are unemployed right now. So think about, say, international students that are meant to be in the job market this year. That has affected them, and they have to change their plans. So people that didn't think of something like COVID-19 happening, they have to take this into consideration when it comes to applying for jobs. Since we have lots of unemployment, then you as an international student, it's going to be very difficult for you to get employed when the citizens themselves can't even get employed. So there's lots of competition. So it's
so like obviously I think a lot of economics too is about and I know the study, they do a lot of forecasting and things like that. So we talked about the presence, but what do you think is the future, or what do you think the impact is going to be? Maybe let's say it's over with and we're going back to somewhat semi-normal life. What do you think is the impact future wise on the global place? Like I can say real quick for career stuff, a lot of stuff is going to be remote, but go ahead for economics.
Yeah, I think the impact of the COVID-19 is going to take time. Like it's going to linger. Like even, let's say, like right now, we have the last case of COVID-19, let's say today. The effect is still going to linger. So it's not like once the COVID-19 is over, then everything will go back to normalcy. No, it wouldn't happen that way. Like you have the short-term impact and then the long-term impact of how it's affected people, it's affected businesses, starting all over again, getting the capital, getting the funds, getting the loans to start your business. It's not as easy as, just starting the economy like from where we left it before the COVID-19 period.
Okay, that's crazy. I don't know. I mean, so what do you, like you said, like that's, and I'm going macro to micro again. I'm gonna go back to your experience. So you said you want to teach, you want to do public speaking, you want to do all that stuff, and you want to do the Ph.D. So how has this really affected your own career planning? And in addition, you're taking on leadership roles in Toastmaster area director. So how do you think like this is really shaping your individual journey right now? COVID now is as your leadership journey and your school journey for this upcoming fall.
Well, it's shaping everything in that everything is being done remotely. So even when it comes to leadership, like presenting, it's all online. And even when it comes to, let's say like graduation, I have to meet my advisors, my professors to discuss my paper. That one-on-one relationship, like in person, is not there. It has to be online. So that makes it a little bit tricky as opposed to how it would normally happen without the COVID-19. So that has been how the COVID-19 has shaped everything. Even when it comes to leadership, like the area contest, I coordinated an area contest, or I tried to coordinate an area contest before the COVID-19. That was before the whole stay home policy, like the lockdown. And I tried to do that, but unfortunately we couldn't have that because of the social distancing. But then COVID-19 has change everything. How this area director role is meant to be, like visiting clubs, meeting people. I'm someone that relates more with people one-on-one, like meeting them, talking to them, as opposed to doing things online. So it's forced me to learn things from a different point of view, like in a digital way.
So it's obviously a good challenge
Yeah.
and so coming out of this, you're going to learn some more new skills and leadership skills in a virtual space.
Definitely.
Like, let's say unrelated to Toastmasters now, what are some things that, like you said, and we talked about things about manifestation, about you putting goals in your mind. What is something like you tell yourself, like, I would love to accomplish this one day? Whether, international student, publishing, whatever. What is something that's like in your mind as a vision or a goal, a big one that scares you a little bit?
I would like to have a foundation. I would love to have a foundation. I would love to have a foundation back at home where I focus on orphans and needy people. And then there would also be like some kind of branch that deals with research. So I love research. So that's like me merging wanting to help people and also doing research. So imagine having a foundation where you have people doing field work, going to different villages and asking them questions on how we can help, and then doing research based on that, and also catering for them and finding sustainable ways to make their lives better. I'm more about finding sustainable ways as opposed to finding short-term ways or solution to help people. So that's something I see myself doing, like helping out and having a foundation.
Hey, speaking of existence, man, we're gonna see you on stages. So, like, obviously, your brain works differently than mine in regards to research. Why is you said it? What gives you passion? Why research? What makes you like really dive in? Like, was it always a love that you had for math, or like was it the curiosity, but then actually getting tangible answers? What drives you to think of research? Like you said so much, like I know that's your thing. Why do you like research so much?
For me, it's the curiosity. Like, it's one thing for someone to tell you something, and it's another thing for you to check it yourself, because you can't always trust people with the answers. Like, people have motives, they have incentives, like they'll tell you what you want to hear. But then I wanted to go there and search for myself. And that's something I've been doing, like, as opposed to having people provide information to you, why don't you go there and see what's going on? And I've had the support of my family, my parents, my friends. They've been really with me from day one, like when it comes to my research journey, but I want to know what's going on. There are lots of literatures that you'd see for and against different views, but then I want to know like what is going on and how can I help? What changes can I do, or what influence, how can I make an impact in the research? So it's all curiosity. I don't want people to tell me the answer alone. I want to also find the answers myself.
So what part, I mean, and for someone that's, either international, let's say international student that's coming here for their PhD, right? And
Yeah.
particularly they have that love for research. What would be some tips to say, you like research and you're an international student, here's some things you should start thinking about or doing?
I would say ask questions. Ask questions is very important. Like, ask your professors, talk to people. When it comes to research, your research questions might change. And then the way people formulate research questions is by talking to others. Talk to them in a normal conversation, like COVID-19, how you were asking me, how has it affected people's life? Just from day-to-day conversation, you can come about with like different interesting questions. So always ask questions and be open-minded as well. I think open-mindedness is very important, especially for international students. You might be used to what's going on in your country and might want to hold on tightly. Of course, you don't have to like give up everything, like you keep the good things, but then there's some things that you just have to embrace once you come to a new country and be accepting of your culture and how they live their life. So open-mindedness is also important. And also like go for a conference, meet people, attend orientation. I mean, I got to know about Toastmasters through orientation. So you'd be surprised at the things like you'd find out when you attend things like have extracurricular activities, attend conference, and these are very helpful, especially for international students that want to meet others and network. That's very important.
So, like you said, you do a lot of research, and you know, obviously either it's, you know, research is a lot of reading, and then also additionally, I think maybe surveying and data collection. What part of the research do you like more, the actual seeking and reading part or the number crunching part per
Oh,
se?
the reading part. The reading part is very interesting. Not the number part, but I'm more interested in the reading parts, like reading different literatures, trying to find out what's going on, why people do this, why people do that, and also finding out the history and the behavior of people, like what changes their behavior, their pattern, why they choose to do things that they do, as opposed to just numbers or like statistics, like this is this and this is that. But then why is this statistic so? How did we come about this number? So that's what I'm interested in.
So what, how do you, you know, obviously reading is a big thing. What's your reading style and tips? Do you like read late at night? Do you read in the morning? Do you read, like, how do you read? And not like, I know, like, not like, how do you, like, like, how do you actually read and get yourself to, because I know it's large volumes of reading that you have to do for a PhD program. So how do you structure your reading?
You know, from the start of my PhD, it was very difficult for me to read lots of papers. Like you'd have just one class, and the reading required for one class is like 6 papers, 7 papers. So imagine taking 3 classes. That's like having to read like 18 papers. And I was struggling, like, how do people do all this? But the more you do it, the better you become at reading. For me, when I'm reading, my space has to be free. My phone has to be silent. And I read it very fast. I read the introduction. I read the conclusion. Intro, conclusion, abstract first before delving into the main gist of the story. That's how I read. But it takes time. It takes time. And I don't read anytime, like you're asking. I don't read at night. I cannot read at night because my productivity level at night is very low compared to the morning time. So what I do is I read when my productivity level is the highest. Because I found myself sometimes like trying to study when I'm sleepy, and it was never helpful at all. So what I'm able to achieve when I'm productive or like in the morning, in the early afternoon, is way higher than when I try to force myself to do so at night. So the best thing is to really understand yourself, how your body works, what time works best for you, and then to be able to get the most of that time. So that's my tip for people wanting to read large papers.
Are you gonna read a lot still when you finish your PhD?
I love reading.
Yeah. So what do you? So like, yeah. I mean, obviously, it's a different reading for study than reading for pleasure. So like, but you love reading, period. So do you actually like to read for fun and read for pleasure as well?
I enjoy reading for pleasure, but then when I read for pleasure, it's mostly like self-development book.
Yeah.
I've recently been reading Joe Dispenza. Like he does lots of research on the mind and your thoughts, like positive thinking. And for me, it's been very important, especially being a PhD student with lots of work. So it's how to influence your mindset to think more positively. So I love reading fiction, non-fiction. You always find me with a book.
Okay. So we did a lot of topics, but we're going to jump into a random segment. I didn't tell you about this, but I always do that. It's called shot for shot. So shot for shot means you get to ask me any random question, and I get to ask you any random question you want. It doesn't have to be related to this at all. You want to go first, or I go first?
Related to this podcast?
No, it could just totally be a random. It's like a random question you just want to ask. It's called and shot for shot. Kind of like I just ask a random question. Do you want to go first, or I go first?
You go first.
All right. So you said that additionally before we got offline that you also do like some TV shows and some other stuff. So what TV shows are you watching right now, and why? Like, what do you like about those shows?
I'm not watching anything right now, but then when it comes to TV shows, anything crime and investigation.
Okay.
I love investigation, like how the investigators try to piece things around to know like who committed the crime and collecting evidence. Like I get so excited. So that makes me very happy. But when it comes to TV shows, mostly reality shows, but lately anything.
Okay, you like the trash too. Okay, good.
Reality shows. But the thing with TV shows is that, like I'm doing my PhD program and it gets so tasking. So I'm always very careful not to go watch a series because you get so addicted. And then you know what's going on, and then you have your reading. So I stick to like reality shows or those shows that you could watch and then go back to some other time. Very addictive ones. So,
like the trash TV where you could just not really watch it because it's just in the background. I will co-sign with that. Is that sometimes I have like those Bravo shows. My wife is watching them, and I'm not gonna watch this Bravo show, Real Housewives or whatever. And then before you know it, I'm sitting down just staring at it. and I'm not really paying attention, but it's just so like, it's just something like, I think that sometimes it's fun to have things to always activate your brain, like reading. But sometimes it's good to just have distractive trash TV too. I'm sorry. Just like, it has no context. It adds nothing to my life, no value, but it's just, I don't know. It's just something to like kind of be fun. I don't know. So yeah. With that follow, what reality show that you think, it's trash, but you still watch it? Which one is that for you? And when I say trash, like, it's like no value. People are just fighting and being catty or something like the whole time, but you're still watching it.
Well, I watched one, there's one I watched recently. Well, not recently, but like beginning of the month. I can't remember the name. The one where you have like different couples.
Is it the one like Married at First Sight one? Or or 90 Day Fiance?
No, Married at First Sight. I know it's very nice. I watched one recently too. I can't remember the name. I think it's called Arranged Marriage. It's
those are funny too.
Yeah, like it's so interesting. So
okay. Yeah. All right, so what's your question for me? You got it.
So what is something new about yourself you learned from doing this podcast? Like since you started this podcast, what is something?
Oh, the podcast. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it's been 3 years. And so I think one of the main things I learned with this podcast was that once I really, really put my mind and organized myself, it got better. And I give a lot of shout out to Christy. She was like, did you ever think it was like Christy Michaels? Yeah. Like I was podcasting, since 2017.
Okay.
And then I joined, I got a job at Mason in December 2017. So I started the podcast in April. I got the job in December, and I believe Christy joined our staff late 2000, like summer 2018, right?
Okay.
And I was like, I got a podcast about well-being and positivity. And she checked it out, and she was just like, it's good, but did you ever think about doing this or doing this? And she would just give me normal suggestions like, did you think about being more scheduled or doing it once a week, or, like organization questions? And I was like, no. And so I learned that when I committed my podcast to being more organized, it's gotten better, like way better. Mm-hmm. So some of the things as in, you saw that, like, I'm not going to just go back and forth. I'm going to schedule my recordings with people, or I'm not going to just do all these things. I'm going to ask for a podcast application sheet. So it's like, I learned that like, once I've committed to this and it's fun for me, but also organized, it's going to be taken to the next level. And it's become, I think my podcast has been a reflection of other things in my life, where it's like, I didn't just shoot from the hip. I like, I got to do like a Google form. I learned, I started using Google Forms more, or I got to like schedule meetings and be more scheduled with my meetings, or I track my analytics too. Now I do a little research. So I think what the podcast has taught me is a lot of outside of podcasting organizational skills. Like, it's made me way more organized as a person.
I saw that when you sent me an invite, and I was very impressed. Like, wow, this is amazing. Yeah.
Well, I didn't. Year one, I was just trying to call people. It would do last minute and jump on, and the podcast would stop. I didn't have the line was correct. It was just a mess. I didn't have all my equipment. When I did in person, I didn't have like a system of how I set up my equipment ready. And now I have I have a policy, like not a procedure, like schedule a guest, do this, set up the appointment, work on it, like know how to edit this way. But it's a system, and it took me a while to get into that. But once I get into it, I tell people it's a groove. And I think one of the things I learned about consistency with podcasting is that I heard that most podcasts die or stop. People stop podcasting at the 6-month mark. They realize it's not just fun. They're not organized. They're rushing. They don't get guests. And I made it when I first started. I was like, I'm going to make it past 6 months. That was my only goal. Like, I was like, I'm going to have. The statistic was 6 months, and if you get to 15 episodes, at least 15. So I was like, okay, I'll get to at least 15 episodes, and I'll get to at least 6 months. And I just kept on going, and it's 3 years. And so that's what I learned about myself. And I need to bring that. That's the same thing. That's why I joined Toastmasters, because that's the next level. I want to be organized in my speech. I got organized in my podcast. I got organized somewhat. My life is not organized. My kids, I'm crazy, but I just try to, the more and more I get organized, I think I do better. So No. So that's it. That's what I learned about myself, being organized, and things will grow. So this is a great episode. Obviously we'll see each other in the digital space in our Toastmasters meetings. Yeah. And also you're doing big things for the area 21, I believe.
Yes.
Area 21 for Toastmasters, which is above our club, which is GMU Toastmasters. But the stage is set. Shout outs and plugs time. Anything. So shout out mama, sister, anyone you want to show some love to. Shout them out, and then plugs, anything that you want the listeners to follow up with you, any resources that you want to share. So stage is set. I'm quiet. Shout outs and plugs.
Shout out to my parents, mom and dad, my siblings, Hadiza, Fatima, Mariam, Ibrahim, friends, family. You can also follow me on my social media. On Instagram, I am _Aisha _Yusuf. And on Twitter, I'm Yusuf _Aisha. And also, I'm the Area 21 director. When you go online, Toastmasters District 29, be sure to look at Area 21. We have several clubs, and it's very good. Like, I believe that public speaking leadership is good for everyone to become better. And if you're interested, just send us an email. And last thing I want to say is that it's a pleasure for me to be here, Philip. Like, thank you so much for inviting me here. It's been exciting, and I really love what you're doing. And just as you said, you've grown a lot from the organization skills, and it's been amazing. Like, I can tick this off my to-do list, because I had like a to-do list for this month, for this year. I had a TED Talk. So you're always instrumental, because early this year, you sent me like TED Talk invites or something. So it's like always been you. And then there was a podcast. So thank you so much. My first podcast, and it was amazing.
Well, it's also, hey, we're going to continue that. I mean, I still haven't got my, the TEDx thing, so now I know that's one of your goals. I'm going to keep on sending. When I get one, I'm going to try to get you to do it too. Like I said, I do the little volunteer ones. That is one of my goals, is to be on a real stage and do one of those formal ones. But now I think you should do it too, in regards to all the knowledge you have. So we're going to do that. We're going to do that one, knock that one off together.
Yeah, I would love.
I still haven't done it yet. You know what I'm saying? I be doing all these pitches and trying to get all there. It ain't happening yet, but the key word is yet. I'm going to keep on trying.
Yeah.
And that's one of my that's one of my, I got my little vision board, and that's one of my visions.
That's great.
So dang, that's crazy. Okay, well, you can check that one off the list until you get your own podcast, and then I'll be on yours. So, but that's great. It's been a pleasure, and I think I learned so much from your journey. I think a lot of people can learn from your Ph.D. journey and your resiliency as an international student. So thank you so much for sharing this. And, I think anyone can take two things. Like, if you just want to get a PhD, we learn some knowledge about reading and setting time. But also, if you're an international student, both undergrad, graduate, you can learn some just what to do and ask questions and resources. So I think this is very helpful. And obviously, I'm so glad that the laws got rescinded, because I would have missed you not being in our club. So I'm so glad, because I was not worried. I was not only worried about, I was worried about you, but also worried about a lot of students I work with. I was like, dang, man, I hope that, they don't have to go back home. Because, they definitely came to college for career opportunities, and that would be a shame that they had to, have that halted. So, hey, hopefully that's a victory. We got to celebrate these little victories that we get, little victories that we get through this tough time. So I'm glad that you're able to stay and still do the stuff that you want to do within this area and in school and in, in Toastmasters. So keep on doing it. So listeners, if you like this episode, please share it with your family and friends. Please like, subscribe, comment. And if you want to leave a voicemail for the podcast, you can call 571-336-6560. That's 571-336-6560. And we'll just do, do more topics and share more knowledge. And obviously follow up with Aisha and follow up with Toastmasters and all our guests. It's been great. And we're out. Thank you for listening to Positive Philter, a podcast that focuses on family, friends, career, with a little self-help along the way. If you enjoyed this podcast, please share it with your family and friends, and like the Facebook page, Spreading Positivity of Movement. Thanks for listening.